What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the weekly show where I talk to the rebels who are shaping youth culture. We find out how they do it, why they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. We're also the only show that features new music every week from our friends over at EDM.com. I'm your host, Josh Levine, and my guest this week is Graham, Funke, and Stone Rokk, aka the Captains of Industry. They're going to show you how to market yourself as a DJ. They've definitely set the bar for marketing and promotions among DJs. They also show us how to keep it fun and serious at the same time. They got some great stories, and it's obvious they're having a lot of fun. We don't really talk about it, but if you pay attention, you can just see the dynamic between the two of them, how they complement each other. It's definitely a good combination. I'm excited to share it with you right after our EDM.com track of the week. Yo, that was WDMA with I Walk Alone, the EDM.com track of the week. Get over to EDM.com, check out new music right after this interview with the Captains of Industry. So you guys are good at the marketing shit, like the logos and the promo items, and you guys kill it with that.
Honestly, just to track it back was, DJing was such I don't want to say a novel concept early on because we took it seriously, but there wasn't a lot of DJs in the 90s in LA,
sure,
or the early 2000s for that matter, and now it's this thing that's hard to create a context to explain to a 21-year-old, for instance.
Totally.
But there was a time where, so DJs are getting some notice, so you could implement marketing strategies that you wouldn't associate with DJing into DJing.
Yeah.
Promo items being an example, which now it's, goes hand in hand with nightlife. But at the time, it wasn't just, you could have something simple, a t-shirt, like we did on our first tour with 5-4 clothing we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, okay, well, anybody can make the t-shirt. So brass belt buckle is an example. We did a calendar with Red Bull, and the calendar was illustrations of us. We had decided we want to do a calendar, say, okay, let's choose a date in the month that's not an obvious one like Halloween, and we will conceptualize a way to demonstrate it, but we'll have it illustrated like a James Bond poster.
Mm-hmm.
So as an example, National Aviation Day. Well, that illustration is a violent water landing with the plane sinking and people dying, but we're in a lifeboat with our Louis Vuitton luggage, and he's holding a Shih Tzu, and I'm actually pushing a guy who's trying to get out of the boat, and we're sipping champagne. So this calendar, people are like, so you made a calendar? I go, yeah. And then they go, okay, well, what does it take to make a calendar? Well, it takes $23,000 to make a calendar.
Yeah.
So we're just trying. It was all part of elevating the persona and the image and the way you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means did we invent promo
items
for DJings or calendars. Like, I'm sure guys were doing promo items.
Because that's why I wanted to do the interview, the inventors of the calendar.
Yeah, that we can talk about that all day long.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure we're the first DJs to do a calendar.
I don't doubt it.
And maybe the only. But like putting your logo on a lighter is not that interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's totally disposable. Whereas the calendar, where we thought, oh, this is amazing because we're going to get 12 months of promotion.
It sits in someone's office. You send it to the bookers, the agents, the nightclubs. It sits in their office for an entire year.
It's actually been years of promotion because people, I know people that have...
Yeah, you collect it.
Well, no, they have it on their wall and they just reprint the dates.
Oh, really?
So that it's... Because we did it in 2013, 2014, 2012.
You guys should sell refills.
Yeah.
Well, we don't like to repeat the gag.
Right.
We like to do the gag once and then on to the next one. Because everyone was like, are you going to do another calendar? I was like, no, we did that one already. We're going to do the next.
Plus, you could buy a car. Or
Plus, you can buy a car for $23,000.
sure.
I can buy a Tesla for $23,000.
Totally. No, that's a good point, and it's funny. You know, we work with brands, kind of. When we
sure.
don't do this, and we have the same conversation, right? Is like, send some shit that's useful to them, that's going to entertain them, it's going to provide some value.
Well,
right? Don't just put your logo on some. By the way, do you have the Rebel Radio lighters for these guys?
The thing is, I'll use it.
Sweet.
I'll use it. But no, why not make it a conversation piece?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We did like peanuts, like airplane peanuts, and it was called Nuts for Your Mouth. And it had the logo on it, and it was gold foil, and we'd pass these out. And by no means do I want to eat the peanuts, and who knows if anybody even eats the peanuts? I have no idea.
Right.
But it was a promo item that people were like, okay, these are like airplane peanuts with the logo on it. It says Nuts for Your Mouth, which was a counterpoint to our chapstick we did, which was called the Stick for Your Lips. It was called the Cap Stick. And people have ripped that off since. We were giving these out when we started Marquee during the first year in Vegas. So that was like our item. But people have done it since then, like chapsticks or whatever.
But how can you beat a caps stick?
The cap stick.
You can't.
And the cap, the actual cap of the cap stick, because you know it's a decal, right? On a normal chapstick.
Yeah.
Ours was wood. It was wood paneled, like a wood paneled sticker was the actual cap. There was so much detail that went into it. So that's really what it comes down to, is the attention to detail, to tell you the truth. Which, I mean, even the logo.
Isn't that true in everything?
Yeah, someone just put something up like, it was a meme. It was like, someone says something and then your response, and the person that said something was like, you would have a better 2018 if you didn't pay attention to the grammatical errors or something like that. But then there was like an obvious grammatical error, like a your or there or something like that.
That's great.
And then the response was this asterisk with the correction.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, it's all about the details. Like that's what makes something special. Like
it used to drive me crazy when people are like, sent from my iPhone, excuse the typos.
Yeah.
How about you fucking proofread
Well, not just that.
before you send it?
Yeah.
At this point, when I look at Twitter or whatever,
and the fucking phone corrects it for you. It like gives you a little red line, and it's like just push it and pick the right
Now
word.
there's no excuse for
the lack of punctuation it really sent a different connotation of what you're trying to say. Like, I have to decipher it, and I don't want to have to decipher it.
Right.
And
for
people
sure.
who are even educated, who I'm like, okay, you know better. Like, punctuate. Like, get your intention across, because intention is everything. You know.
This is totally different than where I thought this conversation was going.
Well, look, you're either gonna get
we got grammar lesson.
You're gonna get one of two things: complaints about TSA, complaints about DJing, complaints about hotels, complaints about Trump.
The thing is, you can't
Pick
change
your
any of those
poison.
things, so the complaints are pointless.
That's true.
As you can't change TSA, you can't change DJing, you can't change Trump, you can't do any of this stuff. So.
Makes for good radio.
Sometimes it feels good. Exactly. Well, I should have said this when you got here, but I'm excited to have you guys.
Excited to be here.
I've been, knowing about you for years and heard a lot of your mixes and,
Appreciate
love
that.
what you guys do. And Allison has been a big champion of the show. So
Right on.
I'm glad she put us together.
Yeah.
We
Shout
just
out
like to have a
Allison.
good time.
Yeah, I thought she was coming, but she has better things to do than
That's cool.
I guess.
sit here with us.
I mean, people have real jobs in LA. Not many, but people do have real jobs.
It's the worst.
Yeah. You can't record a podcast at 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday? Come
What's
on.
your problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the matter with you?
What are you doing that's so important?
There's nothing.
No.
No doubt.
What did you want to talk about?
No, this is good. I like it.
Okay.
Just random musings. I want to know, I always like to know how it starts.
Which part?
Well, let's go way back to just loving music. Do you remember like the first records that just turned you on?
I grew up with Stanley Clark's son. Stanley Clark is, for those who don't know, maybe the best bassist ever. He's a jazz bassist, but maybe the best bassist ever. I don't know. So I grew up with him and hanging out in the studio and seeing people come in, and I was exposed to music that way. My mom was a model and single mom and had a lot of gay friends who would look after me, and they would have dance parties, and I was exposed to music that way. So it was never like, I I was never conscious about it, but I was always being blasted with music.
So do you remember a record that like, so you're around jazz, you're around disco or whatever, right? Do you remember something being, you realizing this is my music?
I can't pinpoint it to one thing. I do remember that I gravitated towards DJing because it appeared to me at the time, I was 11 or 12, it appeared to me at the time that it was a very technical thing, and I've always been drawn to technical things, like putting Legos together. They have to be put together just so, or whatever the thing was. Yeah. So I was drawn
attention to detail.
Yeah, the details.
Yeah.
So I was drawn to it, not even knowing what it was really. And then I kind of figured it out on my own because DJing is just math, it's just counting in fours, and I was good at math, so I was able to figure out, oh, this is just counting in fours. I got this.
Except when you get that 3/4 signature.
Yeah, well, I mean, that wasn't happening in 1991, 1992.
No, of course it was.
So then I just taught myself how to DJ, and I was just kind of doing it. If you came to my house, you knew I had turntables, but I wasn't the kid in high school like, I'm a DJ. Like, it wasn't.
I don't think that concept really existed. It was always a side thing, not a identity.
Well, I remember in high school I went to a house party, and the kid who was in Dick Tracy, whatever his name is, like the young kid does in Dick Tracy, he was Rabbit Ears DJing the party. And at this point I had been DJing for a long time, so I had a grasp on what it was supposed to be. And I'm like, no, this guy's not doing it. Like I know what it is, and this guy's not doing it. And even then I was not like, you're not doing it correctly, or even telling people like, this guy sucks.
What was the first gig you played?
My first gig ever of all time was at the Roxbury, which is now Pink Taco. On Sunset. A good family friend who I guess is an uncle of sorts. His son was a DJ 5 Star. And he was, and I became friends with him, and in turn became friends with Cool Whip. And Cool Whip was playing at Roxbury, and I was like, hey, do you think I can come play some records? And he's like, yeah, I guess. You know, he's never heard me DJ, and at the time you kind of had to get like put on and co-sign and all that. But like, you know, if you don't ask, well, how's it supposed to happen? And so he let me get on, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my set ready, and it's gonna be super heady, and I'm gonna like really teach these people what needs to happen. And I did some weird, like, obscure East Coast, West Coast battle call and response thing. And it was fine, and it worked because I think at the time people were more tolerant about the obscure stuff. But there was also 1,500 people kind of just like, whatever's happening's happening, I guess. They weren't super excited about it. And then afterwards I was like, all right, so I don't think that worked the way it was going to play out.
So you realized that right then?
I could tell that it was not.
There's too many variables.
It was not happening.
Going in. Not to mention back then, you know, people at a nightclub or venue, whatever, might take their cues from the DJ. Whereas now, the DJ's got to take their cues from the crowd. I mean, the stakes are different, you know.
I think that's why I came out of it unscathed, because people would go to places wanting to experience whatever was going to happen. Whereas now, I have to adjust to what is happening.
So, can you think of the moment when that changed?
Bottle service.
Yikes! Yeah, bottle service. That that opened up the floodgates. It allowed everybody to make money, which is nice, us included. But at the same time, it opened up the floodgates for, now you're monetizing everything. So you really have to, and not just that. It's also, we're in an era where you can listen to any song you want, whenever you want, as many times as you want. Whereas that wasn't always the case. So in this very in a society where everything's present and immediate, there's people who are like, okay, I want to hear this. I want to hear it right now. And not that you have to service that, but you have to be aware of it. You know,
it's the context.
So you really have to. obviously the job of the DJ is to pay attention to the crowd and create a dialogue with them, but now there's a little more back and forth. Like they want a certain thing or they're expecting a certain thing. In fact, even on the management level of a nightclub, you might be in a place, and as soon as you make a left turn, an assistant GM who doesn't necessarily know anything about music, he just knows it's different from what he's used to every single weekend. And he's coming up like, what's going on? Like, easy, buddy. It's going to be 60 seconds, 90 seconds. I'm just like doing me or whatever, right? Right. So there's a whole lot of different parts, moving parts, as opposed to the old days where, for instance, if Jay-Z put out a single in 1997 or whatever, they're sending 6 copies to Los Angeles of that single. Right. Most of them are going to radio, some are going to DJs. If you want to hear the song, you're either going to hear it on the radio when they play it, or go to the club where the DJ who happens to have the single has it to play, and that's the only time you're going to hear that record, right? Yeah. It's just not that anymore. Future records a song at 8 p.m. and at 9 p.m. it's on the internet, and the people in the club are like, "Do you have the new Future?" I'm like, "You got a new song out?" How am I supposed to? know,
sure.
It's just different. There's so many different reasons for why that is, to answer your question. It's not just that, but that is, I would say that was a component that began a lot of it,
It's funny. It reminds me of when Napster first came out, or I first learned about Napster. Like, I had a yellow pad with like records that I couldn't find. I was like not a very good digger, but I had a list, probably 10 pages of records that I just hadn't found in the store. And every time I would go to a city or whatever, I'd go look for those records. And
it's hard to get MP3s back then too, or CDs.
Even,
right?
For sure.
So
for sure.
If someone had ripped one of those records to an MP3, it was a blessing. You could find it on Napster.
Yeah.
So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, you had that moment of like, I got to get everything right now because
just to hear it,
I may never get it again.
Yeah, it's
Graham, what's the first record you bought? Do you remember?
I don't remember what record I bought. Obviously I was buying tapes when I was a kid. Yeah. But in terms of like DJing, like buying
just
any
to
DJ, I don't remember. Well,
could
early
be a tape.
Tapes were. I remember having like the Time Ice Cream Castles. Yeah. It was an early one, and obviously Michael Jackson Thriller, that was an early one.
Yeah.
But again, I'm being. Those are things you would have bought because you're a kid and you're influenced by what they're pushing, right?
Yeah.
Purple Rain.
Yeah.
When you start to like find your own taste as you get into your teenage years, I ran the gamut, and some people will stick with a genre, but I think people who are geared towards DJing, they realize that there's a connective tissue with all kind of music, you know? There's a through line. So, even DJing, I think at its very basic roots, it's open format DJing. The guys that developed this, Cool Herc and them, they weren't thinking of, I'll just play one kind of music. They were looking for all kinds of music. So DJing intrinsically is open format DJing.
Sure.
Now this guy plays drum and bass, this guy plays hip hop, whatever. But the very nature of DJing is open format DJing, which is what we do,
Yeah, it's, if you were clubbing in the 80s, which I was, there.
How old are you?
73.
They had clubs in the 80s.
What?
Some, but in high school, we were going to clubs in the 80s, and
did you go up here?
San Francisco, which was amazing.
I lived up in the 90s. I love it.
Oh, yeah. So, the DJ culture and
no doubt.
South of Market and nightclub culture and at that time was incredible. And but, for the most part, there were no formats, right? It was all open format.
Right.
And I remember, running into Doc Martin down here when he was a big house DJ.
Yeah.
But I had gone to his clubs in the 80s, and he was playing disco and funk and hip hop and just
because it's all related.
Yeah.
You know, if you're geared that way.
But something changed back then that all of a sudden everything got
I think it has a lot to do with the record labels did. You go into a Tower Records in the 90s, they have it.
Right.
It's sectioned off to make it easier to find records. You're servicing consumer, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people's tastes have blinders because they can't break out of that compartmentalization of the music.
Yeah.
And it continues today. You go to Pandora or whatever, Spotify, like it has things,
Sure.
like this guy curates hip hop or whatever.
Well, it does make it easier for our brains to to figure out, right? I think the problem is, right, so the record store, I always use that analogy because, you know, the store's only going to take one copy or they're only going to put your records in one place, right? They're not going to put you in the house and the soul and like all the things that may be on your record. They're just going to pick one, and it's an approximation, but it's a convenience for them and for the buyer, right? To simplify.
They're trying to maximize the potential to earn. I mean, you want to put it where it's going to sell the most copies, right?
For sure.
It's a consumer-driven business.
Yeah.
You would be an adult contemporary.
I would be an adult contemporary. I'd be in world music. I'd be in the bargain bin.
In Germany, the hip-hop section is known as the black music section, which is really fresh.
For sure.
I was there and I'm like...
Yeah, you can't do that here.
What's black music?
Right.
Like, oh, it's hip-hop. I go... You're okay with that? Like, can't you just call it hip hop?
Right.
I feel like that translates.
For sure.
You brought up Doc Martin, and pointing out club culture that I grew up with, which would be early '90s Los Angeles when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He was a techno DJ, and he was only that because at those clubs we were going to, they had a techno room, which meant all manner of electronic music, and then the chill room or funk room, which is where I spend most of my time. But even though in the techno room, I wouldn't, looking back on that music, I wouldn't consider it techno. Like Crystal Waters is not techno, but like it was the techno room and the funk room. Even like a very free environment like these clubs we were going to in downtown LA, even that needed categorization.
For sure.
What I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I don't know, I think we have this weird relationship, we collectively, with like labels, because everyone hates it when it's applied to them, but yet they serve a purpose, right? And we need these things to guide us, because otherwise, you start from zero every time, and it becomes impossible to make a decision.
Well, I mean, you get, if someone asks me, the topic comes up that I DJ. Most people are going to say, well, what kind of music? And it's uninformed, because
of course
I've done everything and can do everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did the Country Music Awards one year. I mean,
no way.
Yeah, if you have the skill set and then like a basic knowledge of what needs to get done, you can get the job done.
Yeah.
But I've played like the gulliest of hip hop clubs, and performed with rock band. I mean, I can do whatever needs to get done.
I've thought about starting a night. I've done nights throughout the years, not consistently, but where we take a DJ that's known for one style and have him play something totally different, and it's amazing.
And most of those guys
they love it.
Figure it out.
They always love it.
I had to. Someone asked me, I forget what nightclub it was. Someone was like, "Hey, do you want to open for Bob Sinclair?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I'm the guy to do that. And they're like, yeah, but like, do you want to just do it? Like, they didn't care and they didn't understand why I wasn't the guy. And I'm like, okay, they obviously don't give a fuck.
Right.
And was it your birthday? Whose birthday was it?
I know whose birthday it was.
Okay. It was someone's birthday. So I was like, okay, let's, you don't have to pay me. I want a table near Bob Sinclair.
Yeah.
And I need like 3 bottles or something like that.
Yeah.
So like,
just to have a good time.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what am I going to open, like, what am I going to play for before this guy? I don't know what the fuck he plays. So I'm like, I'm just going to play like old house records. Like, I doubt he's going to play any like 80s and 90s house records.
Right.
So I'm playing whatever. He shows up. He says, well, hello. I go, is there anything that you need me, like, you hear what I'm doing. Is there anything you need me to stay away from? He goes, oh, it doesn't matter. Everything's pre-recorded anyways. I was like, okay.
Sure.
But I got the job done, and everyone was like, that was really great. I go, thanks, I guess. I just played house records that I wanted to hear. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm not a house DJ. I just played records.
But,
that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, like, to, like, the mature house ear, it was like, what is this guy doing? But, these are Hollywood shitheads that don't know any better. They're just going to see Bob Sinclair. They're like, oh, yeah, what?
No, I'm joking. No, but
these are like 10 years ago.
No, I know.
It's okay.
Yeah,
those people all have kids, and
exactly.
Their lives are ruined. They're not going out. They're not going to find me.
They're not going to find me.
Yeah.
But there was always house records to play in a normal set as well, as we were talking about. If you were playing in a funk room somewhere, you could work in those records, and they would work,
Yeah.
One of my biggest problems, actually, when I first started playing out because of the divide. Either you play electronic records or you play hip hop records. At least in Los Angeles, there was a very, very strict divide.
Yeah.
I would catch heat because I was playing 80s records, I was playing disco records, I was playing rock records, I was playing some electronic records in the hip hop room. I was playing hip hop records, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm playing awesome music. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
They're like, "No, you got to play only hip hop." I go, "But why? Like everyone's having a good time. But why does it have to be that?"
It's so weird though, and I'll call myself out. Like, so remember the party when AM came home from the accident
at the
Palace?
Yeah,
Yeah, we played that. Yeah,
Yeah.
We played there,
Yeah. So I remember AM playing towards the end of the night, and then he started with like whatever, and then he goes into this kind of EDM thing.
I think he was geared towards that towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
He was very much in that trend.
I remember, and AM DJ'd one of my first parties ever, and I'd known him for a long time, and I remember thinking, what the fuck is this guy doing? And it's not even that I didn't like the music, I just wasn't expecting it from him, and it was just totally out of place. But that's not, it was me, do you know what I mean? I was just out of sync with where his head was at and was expecting something totally different.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, but
do we have a drum roll or something?
No, there's a lot of people who say if he was still around, the EDM thing wouldn't have taken over, and he would have saved it. And
wow.
If you're paying attention, he was very much going in that direction, and I don't think that open format would have persisted and staved off the EDM wave. I think he would have been part of it. He was already playing at the Insomniac events.
Yeah.
He was hanging out with Justice and Daft Punk and them on in his social circle, right? He had Banana Split, which is very much geared towards that. And I think what he would have done is not sit there and said, "Oh, we're going to fight for the DJing." I think he would have put out an electronic record like 8-Track.
Yeah.
Honestly,
no, I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right.
Yeah, I think he would have embraced it. He still would have been doing him.
Yeah, no doubt. He would continue to do the DJ thing, but with this other
it would just be like what everyone else did. Like it's like 80% when EDM is a thing, 80% EDM, 20% the other stuff, and hope that no one screams at you for playing Joan Jett or whatever.
People still do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you hear a lot of people say it would have been X, Y, and Z, and I think it would have been A, B, and C.
I will preface this by saying that he was a close friend of mine, and I loved him, and we shared a lot of likes, dislikes, and demons.
Yeah.
He was always just an insecure fat kid. Period.
For sure.
Even when he got skinny and super famous, he was always an insecure fat kid.
Totally.
And if the thing that was cool and would make him cool to people was playing these dance records, that's what he was going to do.
Yeah.
He was never going to stray from what he knew and what was true to him, but also he needed that adoration.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why I think he would have gone that route. He would have gone to more dance.
Well, that's an interesting thing. And I had Kevin Kerslake and Kevin Scott on after the documentary came out, and we talked a little bit about like this link between addiction and creativity, right? And I think in a lot of ways, for some people, they're the same motivations, but for both of those, right? It's validation from outside, right? That drives you to want to please people, right? Or to want to seek
adoration, acceptance.
Yeah, right. And it's the same things that cause you to medicate yourself.
Sure.
Right. What is it for you guys that drives you?
God, I lament the days of just being in a dark corner playing the records. Like now that you're very much front and center with like a giant LED screen behind you all the time.
Yeah.
I really look back and go, man, I just loved it when you're just like read the room and service them as opposed to being the center of attention.
Right.
Or in fact, half the time I think these kids think I'm curating a Spotify playlist up there. I don't think they know,
of course,
what's going into it, and that has a lot to do with what we were talking about earlier. But also that DJing doesn't require you to have a skill set necessarily anymore. In fact, people will downplay the idea that you need to have a certain skill set.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier about we can't save DJing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You just do you. But I don't know. I don't think I didn't get into DJing for adoration because it didn't exist when I got into it.
Yeah.
You got into it because you liked music and you wanted to make people dance and maybe get some free drinks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It became something else entirely. And so when someone starts DJing tomorrow, and if I'm going to talk to them, I'm going to ask them what was the reasoning? What's the motivation to want to DJ? Is it because you can turn famous now, because you can turn rich now, or is it because you really love music and want to do something with it?
Mm-hmm.
And many DJs, and I'm using rabbit ears, they've fallen by the wayside. People who got into it, fallen off like what's that little thing for a baby head and biblical cord? Like the little thing falls out of their belly button eventually, like it falls off, because they just didn't have the thing.
Yeah.
Or
this would be the part of the podcast where I start naming people.
Don't do that.
But then he's like, can we cut that out? So I'm just not going to name
Yeah, usually on the podcast is editing.
It's totally up to you guys.
We need to redact certain things.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I mean, it's either because they just weren't cut out for it, or the things that they thought they were going to get out of it, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah,
to
it
get
requires
those
work.
things,
When your impetus isn't genuine, when it's not for anything, like if you become a photographer because you think you're going to get pussy, and then you just end up taking pictures of food plates at restaurants,
right?
You're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But if you genuinely like taking photographs, then it doesn't matter what the picture is. You're doing exactly what you want to do.
Most of the great actors will tell you the same thing. They go, what if you didn't have the success? They go, well, as long as I'm off Broadway doing a thing, doing a show, that's what I'm here for, know? So I think it goes into DJing as well. Not for everybody, but
sure.
Which is why I'll go play a small place like the Dime down the street here.
Yeah.
Just because I want to have fun. You're not going to get any there's no bells and whistles there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to turn famous playing at the Dime.
Yeah.
But they let you do your thing there and you have a good time, and that's what I'm there to do,
Yeah.
You have to find that component to it, because DJing's not always fun. It's a job. You can't take it seriously because you're just playing someone else's records, but you have to take it seriously because the stakes are high. You can't just go in there and half-ass it. There was a time when you can have a lot of fun, but now you really have to be on your toes.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about venues that will do $1 million in a night.
Right.
They're not going to let you mess around.
You said something I heard in an interview. I think it was the Reflections of a DJ podcast.
Okay.
You said, I love DJing and it sucks.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Oh, well, I will. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've pulled away from DJing. I started a real estate development company, so I'm super focused on that. And the reason why I did that for a few reasons. One, the opportunity presented itself, and I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah.
2, I wasn't satisfied with DJing anymore. Graham is really good at separating himself from the job. Like the job is, I have to play these shitty records for these shitty people, and then I have to collect the shitty check.
I wouldn't use those adjectives.
Is that what's on your business card?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I play shitty records for shitty people.
It says I play bad music well. That's always been my phrase.
So he's really good at that. I can't do that. I could never. It's like, look, this is what I do. If you don't want to hire me for what I do, then don't hire me. So I wasn't satisfied anymore. So I started doing the real estate thing. In stepping away from it and not having to do it, I fell in love with it again.
Yeah.
So it was really bad for a while for me, resenting it, and the fact that I was resenting something that I loved so much made me even more upset and more depressed. But now I'm like back in, I'm playing and I'm having fun. Even the shit gigs, even the gigs that I'm like, this is gonna fucking suck. I'm like, you know what? Could be worse.
Right.
Could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
What brought you back into it?
Well, I never really left.
I would say Migos.
Yeah?
Definitely Migos. No, I never was like out. Like, I'm done. Let me have a.
Did you have a going away party?
Yeah, there was no going away party. There's no press conference. Like, I'm here to let you know that Stone Rock is retiring.
There was a massive applause.
Yeah, partially because I'm his partner,
right.
and if I quit, then they're going to assume that
Yeah.
he quit and the captains are done, right? So it was
Unless you stage a beef and like a
we could, yeah.
whole thing.
So it
like those wrestling beefs.
Yeah, when like the British Bulldogs have to fight each other.
Exactly.
So by design, I never quit,
Yeah.
but I definitely like slowed way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just kept working.
And he keeps working, and like I said, he can go do the job, whereas I want to do my thing.
I go do them all. His schedule's more refined to what he's going to find enjoyment, and then when they have us both, when it can be afforded, we go do that.
Yeah.
It's not always us together because that is expensive. It's more expensive.
Sure.
So it just, again, back to compartmentalizing. That's exactly what it is.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So you're the captains now, and it's the two of you. But I know in the past, you've had more of a collective.
We had a collective in the mid 2000s. With some DJs that people may have heard of, but this was an experiment. There was obviously DJ crews. There was the Executioners,
sure,
XMen, Scratch Pickles.
Yep.
What they became? What did the XMen become? They had to change their name.
I don't know.
Isn't it Executioners, right?
It is Executioners, right? Yeah, Executioners. Man, I need more coffee.
I'm a real estate developer. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
There was DJ crews.
Yeah, there's DJ crews.
This wasn't what we were focused on. We weren't trying to do a routine.
Right.
We wanted to create branding opportunities, which we did.
It's power in numbers.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you can account for the quality of everybody involved. Now I think these days you look at some of the rosters, the DJ rosters, and I go, okay, well you can't vouch for most of these people. The roster we're on, it's small enough where I'm like, everybody's solid.
Right.
There's no weak link there. But some places we've been before, at this point they grow so big, you go, oh, I don't even know who this person is. I'm not going to say yes or no. But early on, there's just 6 of us.
Yeah.
And it was really about taking what we were doing in Las Vegas and taking it to different cities. And the clubs that were smart in those other cities, these smaller markets that you wouldn't consider a nightlife market, they know that people in, as an example, Kansas City, that maybe someone in Kansas City is going to save up all year for his Vegas trip. So why not import all the components of the Vegas trip every week and pick their pocket?
Sure.
Bring in the Vegas DJ, put the velvet rope out front, make it a thing.
Yeah, make it feel.
Have the bottle service.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these smart clubs did. They were just like ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to import the branding, ride that same wave,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it came from. But of course, you had 6 guys that were, on the rise. And so I don't want to say egos got in the way, because that really wasn't what it was, but it was, for lack of a better word, everybody just wanting to do their own thing, so it wasn't meshing the way it should. And there were some other outside factors.
I mean, also it's hard to sell invisible, and we Graham and I when we envisioned this, we were trying to create something from nothing. So when you have guys who aren't very
not like-minded in terms of the vision.
Yes.
Some guys are still stuck in I want to DJ and collect shoes. Which
sure.
It was hard for them to be like, okay, I see what you guys want to do.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
They were just like, okay, this is safe. This is where the money's coming from right now. So I'm going to stick with this thing, which was not the crew, which is fine. And we're still friends with almost everyone. And so at that point, when it kind of imploded, we were like, well, we're the brains and looks of the operation, so let's just do our own fucking thing.
Yeah.
And that's the rise of the captains of industry.
And then
go ahead.
I mean, I just think, partnerships are incredibly difficult, especially 6 ways. And no matter how you no matter how you put that together, 6 guys in a room trying to make a decision or trying to go in the same direction,
if you
it's just hard.
I mean, you see bands implode, obviously, and that's because they started early on, and no one expects. Well, they might expect it, but you can't guarantee any success, right?
Of course.
And even later on, those same bands, when they have other guys come in, there's a resentment there too, because this person wasn't from the beginning. You can't win. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I mean, if you take something like the Rand Corporation, everybody in the Rand Corporation knows what they're doing there, right? Like it exists, and you bring in the people who can service that. So we didn't have that. We just had to like, after the experiment, as I call it, we were like, okay, well, we know how to do this. Let's go do it. And from that, I don't remember doing any. Well, no, we did I think the only promo item we did with the original crew, the Abe Froman Showman, was a Christmas card, which was fun. Yeah. But I think the real branding stuff didn't begin until
the captains.
So when that happened, when you come back, just the two of you, and you form the captains, like, was there thought about, or did you guys discuss, like, well, what does this partnership look like, and who does what, and how do we?
I think we were too wrapped up. There was so much work at the time. That we were. In fact, we started taking on other DJs like under our wing. We brought in a third partner, who is not a DJ. She worked at Playboy.
Interesting.
To kind of do the administrative stuff and be like the face and do the emails and stuff. We started bringing on DJs that we could vouch for, because there was so much work.
Yeah.
And that got to be too much for us at some point. But I don't think we had a vision, if that's what you're asking, of what it could be or what it should be or what needed to happen. Yeah. We were so busy.
Just
it was like a 24-hour day job in addition to traveling 7 days a week at that point. Yeah. To be like, okay, well, here's the administrative parts that need to happen,
Right.
And plus, like, who would have thought that DJing would get to the level that it is,
Nobody.
Like, nobody.
I was in my 20s. I left college. I was pre-med in college. I left college, and I'm like, I want to do this DJ thing now because I don't want to be DJing when I'm 30. Yeah. And then next thing you know, I've got a business partner. I've got another business partner. We have a management company. We're doing the thing. We're doing the other. It's like, this is a lot. This turned into a lot really fast.
Cognitive decision where it's like, okay, well, this is what I want to do, and like, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And that might be why we don't have
exist.
A TV show, a movie deal with Sony, a radio show, and all the things that we should have at this point in our lives. Because there was no, we were just kind of like, what's the best decision right now, and what's going to get us over there where we can see. Like we weren't. We were too busy, and we were just too focused on what we can see.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
DJs from the past, guys that like made a name for themselves or made some waves in like the 80s and 90s. The obvious pivot from DJing was to become an A&R person, which that doesn't even exist anymore for all intents and purposes, right?
Way,
So there's no guarantee that guys that are successful DJs will suddenly get a job at a record label finding talent. That doesn't exist anymore. So
what about like so I know you had you were doing some bootlegs with DJ XL.
Yeah, we like
so he was just on the show, by the way.
Oh, was he really? No
ago.
Kidding. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Talented kid, nice dude.
Yeah. So was that something you guys ever explored? Was production?
No, only for the mix CDs, which obviously carried way more currency, in the past than they do now. Now people just expect it,
Yeah.
But there was a time. I mean, we did a couple tours off mix CDs, with corporate sponsors, Reebok, OK Magazine. Yeah. That's just not going to happen anymore. No one's going to put up money to do that.
No.
But in terms of production, I mean, that is the way in now. If you want to DJ and make a name now, you have to come with production.
Right.
You're not going to have an opportunity to come up as a good DJ because that doesn't mean anything anymore. But yeah, it was never a big focus of ours, like producing music.
I think that it's, at least I've always found that you're either a good producer or you're a good DJ. You can't do both.
Yeah.
Because one is like very three-dimensional DJing, and the other is just flat on a screen.
Yeah.
Let me just look left to right and make this thing happen. So they don't complement one another. That's why you have like a guy, I don't know, whatever one of these EDM guys are, they can't actually do any proper DJing,
right,
or any interesting mixing or anything like that, because that's not where their brain is. Their brain is over there making the records.
I mean, it's so I couldn't agree more. And I've had a bunch of guys in those chairs that are doing both, to varying degrees of success. And I feel like that is such a path that a lot of people go down, right? As they start as DJs, and then they've seen now the Bob Sinclairs or the Calvin Harrises or whoever, and so that's the path. But I agree. I don't think that's the same skill set at all.
No, not at all. Like if you're an actor, you can easily transition to director and then back to actor because they complement one another. But producing music and DJing, for some reason, there's no straight line between them.
Yeah.
Which I wish there was.
And I think it comes from an old, if you were Grandmaster Flash and you're in the studio making a record, and then you go to the Roxy that night and drop it, then you're going to break that record in New York, right? And that was the mentality, is like, if you're a Funkmaster Flex and you make this record and you put it on at the Tunnel that night, like, your audience is going to hear it. It's going to get on the, Hot 97.
Taking cues from the DJs in the past, and now you take your cues. The DJ takes the cues from the audience.
That's exactly right.
You don't break records anymore. I mean, they push stuff out way different. You know? I think A-Track had said that the way they produce music now is it's a guy at a computer. He doesn't play any instruments necessarily, but he can compose a song. And there's no other way for him to perform that song, since he did it on a laptop, than quote-unquote DJing.
On the laptop,
So that's what they push them into, whether they can DJ or not, or have any stage presence. I mean, in fact, I've been to some of these festivals, and you're watching the main stage, this guy's pressing play, the song plays, it fades out, and then he talks, and he plays his next song, like you're at a house party in the 1950s. Like they're dancing and the record's over, and the guy's still play the next one. And that's what it is. It's almost like he's doing a listening party in front of 100,000 people, and it's a total bummer. But I mean, that he's right. A-Track meaning they have it's not like they can't get up there and play guitar. So the only way to quote unquote perform their song as a quote unquote performer is quote unquote DJing.
Right. So maybe this is what you're talking about, but I read something you said that said, I let my worldview define the DJing. What the fuck does that mean?
Well, I mean, it means you can think outside the box. Like, if this is something you do, whatever job you do, you're going to let the things that influence you, or the things that motivate you, or the things that inspire you dictate your execution of whatever you're doing, whether you're an architect, or you want to write a book, or you work at a fast food restaurant. You know, you have to be able to make it your own. So for us, like, even the stuff that we did with branding, whatever, these are things that are influences of mine, or things that I wanted to do. It wasn't like, okay, well, how do we best represent ourselves as disc jockeys? Because we certainly didn't do that with any of the presentation. I mean, half the photo shoots are like, we're hiring location managers to find locations, right? And hiring great photographers to do the stuff. None of it was half-assed. So when I say my worldview, I'm talking about everything that influences me and applies to how I try and execute or manifest whatever I'm thinking. So doing a photo shoot where we're doing, like, signing the Declaration of Independence or whatever it is, it was always a we were driven to break the mold of what it was, because it didn't have to just be a photograph of a guy holding a record and holding his headphones and all this other corny shit. It can be something else. It's allowed to. It's an expression. It's a creative medium. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think, all that stuff is just fun, right? And
there's no reason it can't be fun.
Well, but no, there isn't. But I think, when I think of you guys, like, you kind of blew up in this era when DJing became all about fun.
Yes.
Right. And not that it wasn't fun before that, but like,
it's probably more fun before. Just the perception is
I guess what I mean is, like, there were a lot of rules, right? You talked about, like, getting on the first time. Like, that wasn't an easy thing because there was a barrier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were, you know, if you played these records, you'd lose the crowd, or you'd like, you know, whether you had to stick to a genre or you had to prove how underground you were, or all this stuff, right? But, you know, I think that, you know, that era, like late 90s, early, the kind of open format era was very much about, you could play any record as long as it's fun, as long as people are having fun. You can play the Joan Jett and you know, these.
You know, we talk about some people say they invented open format, whatever you want to call it.
This is also the part where I would name
curious
a
who
name
says
and
that.
then
Cross genre, whatever you want to call it. But no one invented it. You
Of
know,
course.
From the top down, people might say Mark Ronson on the East Coast, AM on the West Coast.
Right.
But the fact of the
That's
matter
not true.
is,
Yeah.
if you look at those markets, they were just servicing people who were in those venues, which ran the gamut. I mean, it had a place in LA that you might have some hip hop guys, a rock and roll star, a famous music producer.
Yeah.
And you had to play for everybody. So it came out of necessity. It wasn't like someone was like, you know what, it would be great if I just started playing different genres.
Right.
It wasn't that. It was, you're servicing all of them so everybody has a great time, and you're finding the through line which connects those songs. And that became a thing. And of course everybody wants to take credit for the thing, but nobody can get credited with the thing.
Adam 12 talks about, he didn't say he invented it, but he talked about playing these parties in the valley. He's just trying not to get beat up, like by the punk rock kids and the hip hop kids and whatever, right? And so you play a little something for everybody to keep them happy.
Yeah.
Well, which is the reason I don't want to disparage DJs in other markets, but when it became the thing, and I mean we were solicited by Las Vegas when they started to build the venues to bring this style of music in. We would go to these other cities and the clubs would have their DJs come watch and like try and get their hands on the music.
Is that right?
And,
wow.
And you know, again, not that we were reinventing the wheel, we're just playing other people's music, but like I said, it was developed out of necessity, became the way to do it,
right?
And then spread. No one invented it and said that was a great idea.
But I remember that. I remember DJs, you know, covering the labels. So
AM mode on Serato, I mean,
Yeah.
it erases what you're playing. You know, it loads up and erases what you're playing for that very reason. But they used to soak the labels off when I'm back on.
I went shop. I remember this. I went shopping. I went record shopping with this kid once. He's, you know, I had already been doing the thing and whatever, and he's like, "Can I go record shopping with you?" I was like, "Yeah." He's a young kid, whatever. So I'm doing my thing, picking out records. He's picking out records, and he pulls out the Bangles' "Hazy Shade of Winter," and I'm like, "You do not know that record,
right?"
And he's like, "No, but I saw you play it, so I figure I should have it." And I go, "That's not how it works.
Yeah,
like you have to know the record, then figure out how to play it, and then you get to play it. You don't just
have to get influence from somewhere."
Sure, but but he's buying it only because he recognized the cover, not because the song resonated with him, and he's like, "Man, I need to figure out how to play this record because it's a tight record."
Right.
Like to me, that's a tight record, and that's why I play it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Man, that's a bummer."
No, you gotta learn. In my formative DJ years, you know, when I was late '90s in San Francisco, there's a place called Nicky's Barbecue.
Yeah.
And I would on Thursday
Spend a lot of nights there.
On the One guys, you know, Andrew Jervis and Casper and them. I'd sit in the booth. I mean, the difference between Hazy Shade of Winter and the stuff that these guys were playing is like, I'm not going to readily find any of the stuff that these guys are playing. It's really
it's pretty rare
records. But I mean, that's where I took a lot of influence from, like paying attention to what they're playing, labels. You have to learn from somewhere.
Yeah, I get it, but
you can't do it just by replicating.
But he wasn't learning. Yeah, he wasn't learning.
Yeah, just copying.
He was just buying the record because he recognized the record sleeve, and he's like, "Oh, I need to have this because he had it because he played it, so then I need to play it too."
Sure.
And then you diminish my efforts because.
So let me ask you something. I know you've restrained yourself a couple times from mentioning names.
Yes. Don't mention names. The problem with mentioning names is like, one, it fires a bullet across the bow, which you might not want to do, but it also brings attention to someone who maybe doesn't deserve it, and that's why I always discourage him from.
Totally.
You know. Anyways.
Go ahead.
Proceed. No, my question is like, I mean, I get that, and I think. I tend to agree, but but also, you know, you're an outspoken person. I think there's a value to that in today's world as well. Has that caused you problems?
Actually, recently,
we have one yes.
Silently nodding.
Yeah, recently, I thought about it, and I'm like, man, I wonder if I wasn't such an asshole, if things would be different for us.
Yeah.
And then I think back to the one thing that Graham always says to people, and they're like, you know,
one thing.
your DJ partner's a real fucking asshole, and he goes, you know what? You might not like the way he says the thing that he's saying, but he's not wrong.
Right.
And generally I'm not. And anything that I say here, like if I say blah, blah, blah fucking sucks, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why they suck, because I'm not just going to make a statement and then not back it up.
Right.
If that guy was like, well, why did you say that? I go, well, I gave you the reasons why.
Right.
Refute the reasons, and then prove to me that you don't suck.
Yeah.
And that's it.
People are sensitive these days.
People are super sensitive.
I mean, I loved on you know, I do a little research for these, and I was looking on.
I tried to send you the stuff.
Yeah, sorry. Our email's not working.
And we sent you.
Oh,
Bitcoin.
is that what? So it's your email?
Yeah, I mean,
we were like, is it our email?
No,
like,
we
what's
can't.
going on?
No, it's.
I mean, if you'd received the emails, we sent you Bitcoin. We sent you all types of fun stuff you're missing out on everything. I invited you to the Oscars.
Nice. But no, it's on the Serato message boards after you guys put out Trabajo. There's like all this critique and back and forth and all that, and I thought actually, like, you know, you were really humble about some of the stuff. People, I didn't see anybody like hating on it, but some people liked it more than others, and I think, you know, you had a very honest dialogue with a lot of people about like, hey, this is what I did. You may not like it, I get it, but here's where I'm coming from.
If you're gonna say, I didn't like it and these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna have a conversation with you.
Right.
But if you're just gonna say, oh, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna throw a Scud missile at you.
Sure.
Because like, why?
No, but it's.
But it's also subjective, right?
It's
like
subjective.
He might like it.
Yeah, of course.
You might not.
Of course,
and
we all
that's
have
okay.
different tastes, and
that's fine. Also, that was not our strongest effort. That was the first time I ever did any sort of
we just
mixtape.
learned Ableton.
Yeah,
you know?
I just learned Ableton.
Everything had been live before that. This was, again, this goes back to production. Like the CD, the mix CDs became a production. You know,
right.
like
for sure.
Bringing instruments.
On our last.
The one from last year, which was like the last one.
Yeah,
you know, we go in and like record parts to like make it work.
Yeah,
you know?
And Mosh Trabajo, we had to replay sections of songs that already exist to make the mix right, because otherwise we would get noise or vocals or an instrument that we didn't want.
It just needs to be perfect.
Yeah. So I had to go figure out whoever produced Shaka Khan Ain't Nobody.
Oh, that was from the last one. We went and found the Lynn drums and redid her drum fills.
Who produced it? What did they use?
Yeah.
And how do I make that sound again? And then I had to reproduce the percussions of Shaka Khan Ain't Nobody.
That's amazing.
For literally like a drum roll.
Only because we would be hung up on it if we didn't.
But that's an amazing, like,
you know.
That's an amazing thing that you're just saying right now. Like, I don't want to.
It's the details.
But also, like, okay, on the one hand, you go to this like insane length to get everything just perfect. On the other hand, you put something out for your first time that's not 100%, but you also have the balls to put that out, right? And not sit on it and say, oh, we can't. Like, some people would let fear of rejection kind of stop them from that, and I actually think like both of those are really important. Like, being open to being imperfect is really important, and also going to the lengths of getting all the details right.
I imagine like anyone putting out their first album, they're so stupid and they don't have experience that they don't know that it's not perfect.
But first albums are usually the best
ones. Yeah. Because they don't live in
because of that.
They don't live in Bel Air, and they're not in their house all day long.
Yeah,
sitting
because it's a reflection of who you are, right? Which is imperfect, which is what we relate to in other human beings is imperfection.
And then you learn like, oh, it's supposed to have the reverb like this, or oh, the delay is supposed to be like this, or oh,
sharpen your tools.
And then the thing gets better.
Yeah.
So because oh, that's not right. This is right. Like that thing we did on the first one was not right. It went over fine. No one noticed.
Well,
but
listen, redoing the Lynn drums.
We're also-
2%.
Yeah.
We're also
Sure, of
psychotic.
course.
Like it's for us. It's
Yeah,
no
but
one.
that's-
No one pays.
that's how it
attention
should
to
be.
Yeah, it's for us.
All right, so you're giving a college lecture called "How to Get a Job Like Mine."
It doesn't exist. Record a hit single. You can have a job like mine. I mean, that's what it's going to take at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, okay. So you're guest lecturing at DJ school.
Okay.
Which we've done. We've gone to Camp
sure you
Spinoff many times and talked to the kids every summer.
What do you say? What do you want young DJs starting out today? What do you want them to learn from you?
I tell them, go to college, get a real education. Do this as long as you love it.
Yeah.
And if something happens, it'll happen because you love it, not because you hire a publicist or you're dating someone famous, or it's gonna happen for you because you love it. And if it doesn't happen for you, well, you have an engineering degree or you have an accounting degree or whatever,
or real estate business,
yeah. And you can still do it for $100 at a bar in Burbank, but also your life is not ruined because you spent all this time trying to do this thing to achieve.
That translates into just make sure you love to do it and forget about the other stuff. I mean, that's what it is. You know,
you can't tell 12-year-old kids not to do it.
Right.
Because they don't want to hear that. They want to hear.
Maybe you should tell them to make cookie cutters.
Yeah, make a cookie cutter. Make a Captains of Industry cookie cutter, which I'll showcase on my Instagram shortly. And then, the kids don't want to hear that. They don't want to.
No, of course.
You know, I was a kid. I know.
Yeah.
Don't tell me I can't do it.
Yeah.
Because then I want to do it more, and then I'm going to resist anything you say after that. So,
of course,
do it, but also understand that it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like acting and photography and all these other
anything that
things.
requires any creative endeavor that requires some work. You know, people don't understand.
Right.
Until it's too late.
They just see the glory. They just see the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
They don't see all the work that went into it.
Most creative
before.
endeavors end in disappointment. I wouldn't say end in disappointment. Are fraught with disappointment and dead ends.
Yeah.
And it's about pushing through that stuff.
So you're a motivational speaker.
Not at all. I'm like a social recluse. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know if I get that.
Well, I mean, I come alive when I'm put on the spot. Not unlike my dad. My dad's the same way. He'd rather just read a book. But
right.
There's no motivational speaking. I just tell them like it is. I enjoy talking about DJing just as much as I love DJing.
Yeah. All right, I got to get to some questions.
Are these from Twitter? From your Twitter followers?
Yeah. These are coming live from Snapchat.
From Tommy Laran.
No, we always end with the same set of questions for everyone, so we'll see if you pass. Tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
Wait, what?
One decision that changed your life forever.
Leaving college, being pre-med in college, leaving, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, I would say buying turntables, but that was going to happen.
Right.
No matter what. Yeah, I think leaving college.
Grand Funke.
I don't even know.
And the correct answer is meeting me.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's for better or for worse. That's a tough.
He just said change your life.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be for the better.
I don't know. I finished college. I went to grad school.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not.
You're too well adjusted for
top
this show.
down. I can't pinpoint like, oh, well, at this point, this changed everything. There's lots of those over the course of your life, right?
Was there a quote unquote big break that like changed the game for you?
There's a series of breaks. You're always looking for another big break. I'll say this. There's two people, nightlife operators, that if not for them, I probably would have not gone down this path. One is Ivan Kane, who used to, run the Hollywood scene, but I think his spot is in Atlantic City now, but he took me to Vegas.
Yeah.
At a time when...
What was that burlesque spot called?
40 Deuce,
40
which I worked at.
Oh,
and so did Stone. It was a great club.
Loved it.
And when he was opening the club in Vegas, he was like, I want you to do it. And I got a contract and everything. Things that you wouldn't associate with DJing at that time. He took me to Vegas. So very much he played a part. And also Reggie McDonald, who ran National in the early 2000s, which was the spot in the early 2000s. But he was the GM, and him and Rick Calamaro, rest in peace, they really rode for me. And like, even when promoters would come in and say, we want to use our guy, they would say, your guy's got 1 week. If he doesn't best Graham, then he's out and Graham's back in. And every week,
nice.
They're like, just take the week off. You know what's going to happen. I go, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, Reggie McDonald, Ivan Kane, and Rick Colomaro. And there's been plenty since, but I'm just saying, like, in the early years of DJing, it would certainly be them. It would have been a different direction if not for them.
Yeah. Complete this sentence. I don't have talent. I have blank.
This is assuming I don't have talent?
So Henry Rollins said, I don't have talent. I have tenacity.
Okay.
So what's your version of that?
I don't have talent.
Yeah, these are tough questions.
Yeah. I don't have talent.
They are graded, by the way.
Is that right?
Sick.
I'm already failing.
Yeah. I don't have talent. I have... I have a bit of a sociopath streak in me.
That's the most original answer we've had.
Which allows me to... I think to be hyper successful in anything, you have to believe your own bullshit a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Like
totally.
Like Steve Jobs couldn't do what he did if he didn't truly believe the stuff that he was saying to people.
Yeah.
So I think and I think that's a trait of sociopath. Like
Sure.
you have to believe your own bullshit. So I think I have just a little bit of that.
Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even have a catchy answer, but I do.
Maybe you just have so much talent.
Yeah, you're so talented.
I don't even. But
I'll answer for him.
All right.
I will answer for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have talent. He has
he has pizza.
He has pizza. He has an unrelenting work ethic.
I do. I would say.
big.
I was gonna say, and I didn't know how to phrase it. Like, I do tend to persist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Against like, again, there's obstacles in creative endeavors. That's all there is to it. So it's not about like I'm just gonna like keep banging down the door until I succeed or whatever. It's not that. It's just this is what we do.
Sure.
So you keep it moving. We always say.
All right, I'm gonna go a little lighter. What's your favorite city to travel to?
Well, for work or for hanging out?
One of each.
I'll tell you this. We used to be on a Red Bull DJ team.
Yeah.
And which was a lot of fun. And
we might still be on a Red Bull DJ team. We don't get checks anymore.
How's that going?
But we might still be on. I don't know. I'm not sure. We never formally got banned.
They did send us to a lot of markets that aren't nightlife markets.
Yeah.
But and that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to say is they took us to Austria, which is where they're headquartered in Salzburg.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing place and a great time.
Yeah.
So it was fun DJing there because they were just kind of open to everything. In
Sure.
fact, Scratch Bastard was with us, and we were sitting backstage, and he goes, "Is Stone playing Expansions by Lonnie Liston Smith?" And I'm like, "He's playing Expansions?" Like, they were just open to whatever.
Yeah.
And the city is beautiful and small and clean, and there's rolling mountains and ice caverns and ancient castles. And then there's like very modern element of like Red Bull headquarters, which is like a glass airplane hangar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
So when you say, what's your favorite city? I go, I don't know. I love going to Milwaukee. There's places I love going.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to pinpoint like a place that I had a great time, I'm going to say Salzburg because that was just a fun time in a beautiful place.
Nice. Stone.
He likes
favorite city.
He likes Tijuana.
I like Tijuana. I would say Marbella, Spain.
Wow. But we didn't go work there.
He did. He said it didn't matter.
Yeah, I know, but there's.
That's a selfish question because I'm a traveler. I love to travel, and I'm always
Spain.
looking for just interesting places that I'm not in those. I've never been to either one of those.
Well, yeah, I'd never been to Salzburg either.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go back.
That was a good trip.
That was a fun trip.
We went to Salzburg and then we went to München afterwards.
Yeah, we went to München afterwards.
Cool.
That was a wonderful place too.
Cool city.
Germany's fun. Yeah.
So if I worked for you guys,
yes.
What's something I would hear you say over and over?
You mean a phrase?
Yeah, or an idea, or a...
Just do it right the first time.
Yeah.
Well, that never happens the first time. Like, it's a process. Everything's a process.
No, but like when we put out the thing, it's done.
Right.
Like when we put the thing out, whatever it is, it's done. Like there's nothing.
We've had people work for us. I'm not positive it's a fun experience.
Well, my whole thing is like, and even with real estate, like I had an experience recently. Guys were hanging doors.
Yeah.
And there's 10 doors to hang, and 8 of the 10 were perfect.
Yeah.
And 2 weren't. And I said, what happened here? He goes, I don't know. I go, well, obviously it's not because you don't know how to do it. Because you did 8 correctly and you did 2 incorrectly. So either you're fucking lazy or something happened. So which one is it? And, you know, he gave me a bunch of excuses. I said, okay, just fix it, make it perfect, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And from now on, just do it right the first time so then you don't have to redo it because now you're wasting time.
Yeah.
If you just spend the time that you spend the extra 5 minutes, you don't have to spend an extra 45 minutes redoing it.
That's
just do it right the first time. That's it.
Yeah, until I remodeled my own place, I had no idea how many corners are cut in construction and stuff.
I'm sure.
And then I'm in hotels now, and I'm like, oh, that grout's messed up, dude. Like they didn't caulk the baseboards correct. I mean, you start picking up on these little tiny things.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
So I know you guys have played for a lot of famous people, a lot of, you know,
so many.
I'm sure.
Wow.
And
who would you be most excited to learn as a fan of your work?
like someone who I don't already know is a fan of my work?
No, maybe there's someone that
Is
you
already-
found out that you.
Having fandom is a dangerous word.
God damn it!
I don't. I am so.
These questions are not
I'm
up for debate.
I'm so angry. I'm so angry and I'm so jaded that if someone was like,
You're like,
"You're a great DJ," my response is,
what are your
Yeah, what
qualifications?
qualifies you to make that
Who
statement?
asked you?
Tell me you had a good time, right? Don't tell me
okay.
that I'm a great DJ.
Okay.
I get past people pass us compliments from people of note.
Yeah.
And that's nice to hear or whatever. But again, like, it doesn't change how I do the job, so I don't
Of
get
course.
hung up on this stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say one time, I was DJing and Heavy D came up and he just kept coming up.
Yeah.
He's like, man, this is so fun. I can't believe you're playing
That's
this
dope.
stuff. You put these records together. And for someone who understands music like he did and put out so many good records, that to me was like, oh, wow, this one means something. You know what I mean? I think AM told me one time that Eric Sermon had come up to him and said the same thing. And
That's cool.
that made an impact on him. And imagine how many famous people that dude had been around, you know?
Yeah.
But Eric Sermon, which I guarantee 90% of the famous people that he
they
was
never
around
heard Eric
don't
Sermon.
even know who Eric Sermon is.
Right. Yeah. It's a good one.
For Stone, it was, I'm not even going to go into it.
Come on.
No, I was going to slight you.
Oh, that's okay. Do it.
Okay.
Come on.
No,
It's
I mean,
good
now
for
there's not
radio.
even anything that's good.
Okay.
Now we can't even live up to it.
Is there a book that's had the biggest impact on you?
A book?
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I read over the years. I've read The Great Gatsby many, many times, and this is prior to like them making the recent popular movie. This is just something I read a lot. And every holiday season, I do read A Christmas Carol.
Really?
Yes.
You're a traditionalist.
I do. I just enjoy these books. I read a lot. I read every single night and every day on the airplane.
What are you reading now?
I'm reading actually the book that Goodfellas was adapted into.
Yeah.
The Nick Pileggi book.
Nice.
But recently, because we've been working on a book ourselves, I read Molly's Game and I read the Moby book, Porcelain. This is in the last 6 weeks or so, which were interesting.
Molly's Game?
Isn't that what it's called? Molly's Game?
Is it Molly Ringwald?
No, Molly.
No, that poker.
The poker chick.
Oh.
Yeah. Who worked at National, consequently.
I have no idea. Oh, really?
When I was there. But I had no idea it was the same person till I saw the movie and they had a fake National nightclub in the movie.
Nice.
But I mean, I've read The Kid Stays in the Picture a million times. I mean, I love this book.
great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of books. The Godfather's a great book. And The Godfather's a great book not because they made a great movie out of it, but the parts that aren't in the movie make it great.
I just read it last year, and I've seen the movie
Johnny Fontaine
50
section
times,
is
but like,
awesome, right?
Yeah, I was blown away that the book could be better than the movie.
Right, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
And
But isn't that always the case, though?
Yeah,
No,
but you
when-
don't expect it from your favorite movie. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess that's fair.
The Shining is not the book is not as good as the movie,
Right.
in my opinion. I've read The
Sure.
Shining, so it doesn't always happen that
Yeah.
way. But that particular book, The Godfather, has so many parts that are not in the movie that are great.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, tons of reading. I mean, there's otherwise. How do you broaden your mind if you're not?
How does the
constantly reading it?
worldview
That's right.
dictate the DJing?
That's right.
I'm
if you don't
I'm not
read.
positive The Godfather has influence
Maybe.
on the DJ.
Maybe.
Okay, so since we're talking about movies, what movie have you seen the most in your life?
Oh my God.
Probably Goodfellas.
Yeah.
But not because
That's
it's
weird.
the best movie ever.
Yeah.
at one point in my life, I have to fall asleep with the TV on.
Yeah.
I had a TV with the VCR built in, but I didn't have cable.
Yeah.
I didn't even have the antenna.
Yeah.
I only had VHS tape, and for some reason, I would only fall asleep to Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So I'd put the VHS tape in, and I'd start Goodfellas, and I'd watch it, and then at some point, I'd fall asleep.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And it was also the style of VCR that would rewind itself and then start over. So it was just playing all night long, and I would wake up to Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So it's probably Goodfellas.
That's great. I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie, but it's definitely not something like.
No, I get it.
I need to watch it 1,000 times in my life.
I used to fall asleep to Alien until I realized that like the menu page, it was like.
Oh, on the DVD. Yeah, you're probably having some messed up dreams.
my dreams.
I'm sure.
You know.
I'm sure.
But now I don't fall asleep to movies.
What movie do you think you've seen the most?
God, this question can't even like. There's no answer for that. There's so many. I watch. You'll talk to an actress who's nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
You say, what's your favorite movie? And they say, this, I've seen it like 10 times. I've seen crappy movies
like
10
100 times.
you know?
Yeah.
I watch All the President's Men a lot. I watch Chinatown a lot. I watch Amadeus a lot.
Those are too good. Like.
Yeah, they're great, which is why, in fact, on airplanes, when I'm going to fall asleep, I have them on. I'm just listening to the dialogue.
Yeah.
Because it's so good. But people don't.
But there is something about that. I'm the same way. Like I need the TV on to fall asleep.
I used to. I don't do it anymore.
And it has to be something that I'm semi interested in, and like better. So for me, the fastest way to fall asleep is put on Seinfeld, because I've seen it all. It's comforting.
Yeah,
like
it's got to be something you're familiar with, so you're not engaged.
Yeah.
But
it can't be like something I don't like.
Yeah.
Because that's going to engage you.
Yeah. Exactly. You know? Exactly.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's too many movies for me to. I mean, I've seen movies hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Blade Runner hundreds of times.
I'm sure.
You know, over and over again. I watch the same movies over and over again.
Uh-huh.
I don't even watch new movies because my iPad just has like Ghost Rider, Ninth Gate, Chinatown, All the President's Men, Sunset Boulevard. You know, they're the same movies over and over again.
Yeah. That's back to that worldview. Who's your favorite DJ?
This is another dangerous question.
I know.
Graham Funke.
Ha ha ha. This is a dangerous.
That's a sellout move right there.
I will say this, since I was
it's okay.
Since I was just on his podcast, and I actually didn't get to say it on his podcast, which I wanted to. Crooked is one of my favorite DJs.
Yeah, he's great. That's what I'm saying. It's dangerous to you can have appreciation of your peers, and I precurse that, and then say Riz, Melody, and Jazzy Jeff. Would, in my opinion, are the best. But
I mean, you can have more than one.
Of course.
You know.
But it's difficult to say, okay, well, this guy's my favorite DJ because there's so many good ones, and so many bad ones, but so many good ones.
Who have you seen? Who's surprised you?
DJ wise?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the story of Bobby French a lot.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He was the maitre d' at La Scala in Beverly Hills.
No way.
Yeah, and he's a young kid and super nice, and I think he knew who I was when I would go there. And then,
do you know who I am?
Yeah. Do you know who I am? Give me a table. And one day he like slid a CD to me, and he was like, "Yeah, I made this CD. I guess there was like a Mark Ronson come on tour with me competition."
Oh, okay.
I think the one Spider one.
Yeah, Rockstar of Energy.
Something like that. And he's like, I submitted this for that Ronson thing. I was like, all right, cool. And no one really hands me mixtapes, and like I don't take myself so seriously that I'm like, of course you handed me a mixtape. I'm Stun Rock. So I took the CD and I listened to it, and I'm like, yo, this is fucking dope.
Yeah.
So then when I went back, I was like, hey, where do you work? He's like, I don't really work. I go, how do you not really work? Like that mixtape is really dope.
Yeah.
And he was one of the dudes that we took on when we had the management company, because I was like, you need to be working, because like you get it, like you understand what needs to happen. Not that a 1 hour mixtape translates to a 4 hour set ever.
Yeah.
But the mixtape was done so well, and it was live.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay, this guy has to get it. Like he has to know what needs to happen. And sure enough, he did. And now he's doing his
He
thing.
does his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Plucked him out of obscurity
Yeah,
amongst other guys. Cause
Of course.
I'm Stone Rock.
You're like
Of
the
course
star
I
maker.
did. Yeah.
A Star is Born.
Yeah. No doubt.
Thank you guys for doing this, man. This is fun.
Oh, man, this has been fun to chat
I'm bummed
about
that
this
they're gonna kick us out of here because I could talk about this shit all day.
Yeah, that's usually what it comes
We'll
down
just
to.
do a
is like-
part 2.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
A quarterly captains.
I'd love to.
The
So what
captain's,
have you guys been up to?
the captain's quarter.
What's going on? What's next?
I have a lunch meeting with some real estate agents.
What are you gonna order?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know.
weird.
I'm not even sure where the meeting is. They're still like trying to figure it out.
Huh.
The meeting's supposed to be at 12.
Okay,
Okay.
that's not gonna work.
Yeah, it'll be at 12:30, and it'll be like at a diner somewhere.
There you
I'm
go.
having dinner with Pasquale Rotella tonight. I'm
Nice.
sure you know him.
I do.
Um,
That's exciting.
yes.
What are you eating?
We're having Italian, obviously.
Obviously.
Well, it's either that or vegan these days, I think.
Oh, really?
On his
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
But
Italian with meat or vegan? Is that the deal?
I'm not positive. I think we'll
Okay.
just go straight up on.
Would your question like what's next for the
he
day,
means
or
in
what's
general.
next?
Kind of captains of industry.
I mean,
like
we're writing
like-
a book. We're trying
yeah.
to write a book. We've been trying to get a TV show for a little while, not because we want a TV show or we think we should have one, but because everyone told us we should have one.
You should definitely have one.
And now we're like, yeah, we should have a fucking TV show.
Yeah.
So it turns out that the path of least resistance to getting a TV show, here's the secret sauce, listeners, is to write a book.
Nice.
So we're writing a book. And we always wanted to write a book.
Most of our listeners are authors, so they're definitely
They're in the book
that's
club.
valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebel Radio book club.
Yeah, for sure.
So we always wanted to have a book, but we always thought it was television first.
Right.
Catch a little.
Get canceled, then you write a book about that.
Exactly, and then here's the story.
That's the second book.
Yeah. So,
second book.
but apparently
Oh my
we got to
gosh.
write the book first, so we're writing the fucking book.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Try to not make it too esoteric to DJing, you know.
Right.
Try to make it interesting to read, like Kitchen Confidential, perhaps. You know,
yeah.
where kind of like, I mean, because I hate food, but that's a interesting book to read, you know.
Yeah, like you want. I want my dad to be able to read it and go, oh, okay, I get it.
How does somebody hate food?
I mean, I'm just not passionate about it. My brother's like a
okay.
gourmet
Yes.
chef, but I'm like,
There's so much we can get into. Grandma only eats 11 things.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's not true.
That's like my son.
That's beyond true.
I don't know if that's true.
Now it's 12 because I can include white rice.
I've always liked white rice.
White rice is the best.
But if you want to write a book,
best-
it
best
needs to
food on
be
there.
it needs to be authentic to those people immersed in what you're writing about, but also be accessible to those curious about what you're writing about. You know,
Yeah.
they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So that's really what the goal is.
That's cool.
To walk that fine line.
Yeah.
You know.
Nice. All right, and how does everybody find the captains online?
Captains of
You might catch him on old reruns of To Catch a Predator.
Yeah. if you TiVo To Catch a Predator, you'll see me on there 3 times. No, thecaptainsofindustry.com, on Twitter, Instagram, or
at
the Caps,
Okay.
CAPTS. I'm at Stone Rock. He's at Graham Funke, FUNKE.
Yeah, Funke.
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 And yeah, that's it.
Dope.
Yeah.
Or find us on the streets.
Or find
Yes.
us on the streets.
We'll look for you at a construction site.
Yeah.
Come say what's up.
Yeah, why not?
Get an autograph.
I'll be the guy yelling in Espanol to everyone.
Rebel Radio, Captains of Industry. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Make sure you hit us on Twitter or Facebook at Rebel Radio Net. And come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.